Lynda Kinkade, thanks so much for joining me. We begin with simmering tensions over North Korea as the war of words between Pyongyang and Washington ramps up and China calls for calm. Chinese President Xi Jinping is urging both sides to stop words and actions that could escalate the situation. It comes as US President Donald Trump warns North Korea against carrying out its threat against the US territory of Guam. And if Pyongyang does act on its threats, here's what Mr. Trump says will happen.
Thank you, everybody. If anything happens to Guam, there's going to be big, big trouble in North Korea.
Have you ordered any change in our military readiness?
I don't want it to say. I don't talk about that. You know that.
Well, US military forces are on high alert in case North Korea does act on its threats. Jim Shooter has the latest maneuvering as tensions and rhetoric heat up.
President Trump issuing an ominous warning to North Korea's leader and to the world.
If he utters one threat in the form of an overt threat, which, by the way, he has been uttering for years and his family has been uttering for years, or if he does anything with respect to Guam or any place else that's an American territory or an American ally, he will truly regret it, and he will regret it fast.
This after earlier in the day tweeting that he's willing to order military action against the North. Military solutions are now fully in place, locked and loaded, should North Korea act unwisely. Hopefully Kim Jong-un will find another path! Exclamation point. Defense Secretary James Mattis, who yesterday insisted the U.S. is focused on a diplomatic solution, declined to give details on what military options he's given the president.
I don't tell the enemy in advance what I'm going to do. Our readiness, we are ready.
North Korea is now accusing President Trump of escalating the crisis with his dire rhetoric. Pyongyang state-run Korean Central News Agency reporting, quote, Trump is driving the situation on the Korean peninsula to the brink of a nuclear war. In Guam, the target of North Korea's latest threat, people woke up to a grim newspaper headline. 14 minutes. That's how long it would take a North Korean missile to reach the U.S. territory. If it managed to get past U.S. missile defenses, Guam now warning its citizens. The U.S. bombers on Guam were seen preparing for action, a constant state of alert for forces whose motto is ready to fight.
Obviously, I can't tell you what they're doing or where they're going, but we are training every day, all the time, just so we're ready. We're always prepared to prevail and to fight tonight.
South Korea is calling on its military to maintain full readiness, and Japan is deploying this U.S. missile defense system, the Patriot PAC-3, to 4 different locations. Though the Patriot system is not designed to shoot down the intermediate-range ballistic missiles that Pyongyang is currently threatening to launch. Following Secretary of State Tillerson's trip to the region, a top Asia diplomat says the U.S. is open to talking with the North.
I don't have anything to comment about discussions or engagements with North Korea, except to say this. The North Koreans know how to reach us.
Despite the rhetorical escalation, U.S. defense officials tell CNN there are no plans to deploy additional forces to the Korean peninsula, and ships and aircraft in the region on regular deployment schedules. There are upcoming exercises between South Korea and U.S. forces, but those were planned as well. Again, part of regular U.S. deployment in the region. Jim Shooter, CNN, Washington.
Well, countries in the region are not taking any chances. Japan is deploying a missile interception system, and South Korea's defense minister is calling on the military to maintain full readiness. Well, our Anna Coren joins us now from Seoul with the very latest. And Anna, South Koreans are used to hearing threats from their neighbour to the north, but now they have the US president ramping up the rhetoric. How are people there responding?
Yeah, Lynda, that's absolutely right. They've been listening to this sort of rhetoric out of North Korea for the last 4 decades, not just Kim Jong-un, but his father and his grandfather. So whilst the rhetoric is disturbing and alarming, it is the norm. What isn't normal, however, is the inflammatory language coming from a US president. And that's why people here in South Korea are just in disbelief, wondering what is the end game for Donald Trump? Does he want war? Because as we know, war would be catastrophic for the Korean Peninsula, and it certainly would mean the end and self-annihilation for the North Korean regime. The people here say his comments have escalated tensions, that they're not just irresponsible, but extremely dangerous. Now, when Donald Trump was asked whether his language is reassuring the South Koreans, he said that they're happy, that the South Koreans feel very reassured, and that he is doing more than any other former US president. Well, we put that to the South Korean government, and Lynda, we got a official no comment. Now, I just want to read you the latest statement coming out from North Korean state media KCNA, obviously in response to that locked and loaded tweet from Donald Trump. It says, if the Trump administration does not want the American empire to meet its tragic doom, they need to be prudent on what they say and how they act. Obviously, Lynda, a direct message to Donald Trump.
Yeah, certainly tough words there. And Anna, Japan, of course, is caught in the crosshairs. It has often been threatened by North Korea, but despite hoping for a diplomatic solution, they are preparing for the worst, deploying an intercept system. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. Japan very concerned about escalating tensions here, because if those missiles, as North Korea says it has, those missiles that could head towards Guam, if Kim Jong-un gives it the green light, then they would fly over Japan, and that is very troublesome for the government. So as you say, they have deployed the PAC-3 missile interception system to 4 locations around the country, the government saying it is just in case.
And Anna, amidst all this back and forth we're hearing between North Korea and the US, China, North Korea's greatest ally, is calling for calm.
Yeah, calling for calm, calling for restraint. That was the message delivered from President Xi Jinping when he spoke to Donald Trump very early this morning. I want to read you some of the excerpt as to what the Chinese president told Donald Trump. He said, at present, relevant parties should exercise restraint and avoid words and actions that would escalate tensions on the Korean Peninsula. He's also said that dialogue is the only way to resolve the nuclear issue here on the Korean Peninsula. And it's also important to note, Lynda, there was that editorial out of a state-based newspaper yesterday from China saying that China would probably have to react if the US and South Korea were to strike at North Korea first. Lynda.
Okay, Anna Coren for us. Good to have you with us live from Seoul. Thank you very much.